Hi, everybody. It's Kelly Russell, the Rock Your Joy Coach. Thank you so much for being with me today, and welcome to my channel. So, my topic today is taken from chapter 21 of A Course in Miracles, part 2, The Responsibility for Sight. And this concept is, I think, one of the most difficult for students of A Course in Miracles to get their heads around, self included. And we resist it a lot. And I think it creates a lot of, like judgment and like, I don't want to believe that. And, you know, like, fuck the Course in Miracles. And I'm just talking me here that I've had that kind of inner teenager slash toddler reaction to it in particular, because it is the idea that we make our own reality here, that we are responsible for what we see happening in our lives, for everything that seems to occur, and how we feel about it, how we experience it, and what we think we're victims of, and all of that. And so I'm going to read to you the part that it is from part 2, and it says, "This is the only thing that you need do for vision." And it's talking about true vision as opposed to looking through the ego's eyes, which is what this world is, and it's what we do in this world. We look through the eyes of the ego, which is that is based in fear, and it's not true vision, and it's going to reflect back to us attack thoughts, unloving thoughts, etc. So it says, "This is the only thing you need do for vision, happiness, release from pain, and the complete escape from sin, all to be given you." And again, when A Course in Miracles talks about sin, it is not talking about hellfire and brimstone and damnation, except kind of like it is internally from our minds. It is talking about error thinking, and that the correction of our vision is helping us to see everything from a place of love instead of a place from fear, which would be the erroneous thinking. "Say only this, but mean it with no reservations, for here the power of salvation lies." And again, A Course in Miracles is not talking about salvation in the traditionally understood Christian terminology, as much as it is talking about salvation from our belief that we are guilty of separating from our Creator, and then that causes us to have the erroneous thinking, the aforementioned. Okay, "I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for, and I receive as I have asked." And I know that the first 50 times that I read this, I was just like, fuck that. Like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for, list the whatever things that I think I'm a victim of that I didn't ask for. And yeah, in the conscious dream of the world, we didn't ask for it. On this level of perception, we may not have asked for whatever it is that we're seeing. But what it's trying to get us to see is that we have the responsibility for how we perceive anything that appears to be going on in our lives. It's by how we look at it, and the meaning that we make out of it, and how we assign, whether we assign blame, and we assign whether we have attack thoughts about it, or whether we look at it from a place of love. So if we look at everything that seems to go on in our lives, which was created at a different level of consciousness, of our consciousness, if we look at everything with loving eyes, we look at everything with true vision, then we aren't going to experience anything as our victimization, or as us being attacked by another person, or us being disrespected or abused or undermined, or whatever those kinds of meanings that we make out of things and the stories that we tell ourselves about it, when we're looking at things with true vision from a place of love, then we will be able to see beyond the meaning that the ego mind wants to make out of everything, because the ego mind wants to make everything about this world. It wants to keep our focus here. It wants to make everything someone else's fault. It wants to see ourselves as the victim of everyone else, and it wants to keep our focus here instead of on the reality that this is a dream that we are having, and that we are all just pure spirit and never left the home that we were created in by God and where we still are. But it wants to do that. Why? Because the ego wants to be God. And so when we buy into the idea that, I'm a victim of something, or I was abused by someone, or I can't do this or that because somebody limited me in some way, or because, some projection outside of ourselves, some reason that we're giving outside of ourselves for why we are having whatever experience we appear to be having in the world, we give our power away by doing that, and we condemn ourselves to having the same experiences over and over and over again, of staying here and appearing to have these serial lifetimes reincarnating over and over again, where we have conflicts with people and different problems and different challenges, and it's just a never ending cycle. But the reason why we keep doing that is because we keep believing and keep putting our allegiance in this world. And so what we have to do is admit that. We have to acknowledge that yeah, I am on some level of my consciousness, I am investing in remaining in this world, in this ego thought system, this world of time and space, because I want to be God, and I want to believe that this thought system is real, so that I can be the boss of it. But the ironic thing is, we were created as extensions of God. That's what the truth is. So we are, in truth, exactly like God, with every characteristic and quality that God is, because we are just pure extensions. We're not separate. We're not different. So in that definition, we actually are God. In that context, there's no difference, as A Course in Miracles says, no difference between God and us, except He created us, we did not create Him. That's the only difference. And so it's so funny that we keep unconsciously choosing the ego world so that we can be God and we can be in control, which we're not. We're putting the ego in control, and then we think we're not, right? So then we think that we're victims of whatever happens in the world. But it's our choice that we're choosing this world, instead of allowing ourselves, choosing with love, and allowing ourselves to actually be the extensions of God that we really are, and be love in the world. And because when we choose true vision and we look at the world through the eyes of love instead of the eyes of fear, that's when we're being our God selves. Then the world reflects a very different, reality to us. And so I know that this has meaning for me. A little story that I have about this is that a few years ago, I went on a trip, and there were other people on the trip with me, other friends of mine who were also friends with each other. And as much as I wanted to go on the trip, I also had some trepidation about it, because I knew that I have difficulty I have difficulty in triads. Triad is like three people. And I've always been like that. I've always had trouble. I'm great one-on-one, and I'm probably good like in a crowd, but like when it's three people, I've always struggled with that, and struggled with feeling left out, and like I'm the odd person out. And it's gone on since I was a kid, and so I I had some nervousness about that. I was carrying that energy into the trip. So you can sort of see where this is going, right? I was setting it up beforehand in my powerfully creative, God given mind. I was already setting up an experience, and I was already, as the Course talks about, choosing the experiences that I would have, right? And the emotions and feelings that I would have about it. And so sure enough, no surprise here, I went on this trip, and my perception was that two people that I was friends with and that were friends with each other were seemed to just be paying all their attention to each other and not to me, and sitting next to each other and talking to each other. And if we were all three sitting together, I didn't feel like I was being listened to or being heard or getting a word in. And I just got all boo boo kitty about it. I felt sorry for myself. I felt like they didn't like me, or, and of course, the other side of that was then getting pissed off and feeling like they were being bitches, and, that they were ignoring me. And so I was seeing myself as a victim and then having attack thoughts toward the other people, which is what happens. We can't see ourselves as victims without seeing someone else as the victimizer. And so we're automatically having attack thoughts there. And because we are all one, we are one extension of God, we are one son of God, when we carry attack thoughts, unloving thoughts about another seemingly separated person, we can't avoid having those thoughts about ourselves. So we're having attack thoughts toward ourselves, having attack thoughts toward the other person. And that's going to result in a feeling of unconscious guilt and a belief in our separation from our brothers, and because we are extensions of God, as all our brothers are. When we feel separate from our brothers, we feel separate from God. We believe we're separate and alone from everyone, and that is the perfect setup for the ego to step in and be like, I'll be your bro, I'll be your buddy, I'll be your friend, I'll take care of you, it'll just be you and me. And then we'll perceive to judge and condemn the entire fucking world. And so my experience began to be really shitty on that trip, that I just really felt worse and worse about myself. And like I didn't have, it takes you to a dark place. I don't have any friends and nobody likes me. And, I guess I'll just go eat worms, whatever. And meanwhile, I know that that is not the truth of me. I know that I have wonderful people that I'm in community with, and people that love me, and a wonderful family and great friends and all that. But I wasn't in my right mind about it, because I had gotten hooked in to this egoic, fearful thought, right? And this belief that I can't manage triads. And but it wasn't even, I didn't have enough distance from the situation even to see, that I was believing that I can't manage triads. I was just immersed in the experience of being left out, and being left out. There's no other way to say it. And so what I realized, as I've been a Course in Miracles student for 20 years. So at that time it was maybe around 15 or 16 years. I was able to to get myself to the place where I could practice the forgiveness process, which is just the ultimate healing process and healing therapy for any situation given to us by A Course in Miracles. And as I practice that forgiveness, and it's not really forgiving the other person. I mean, they may be wearing the face of what we're forgiving, but what we're truly forgiving is ourselves for our belief and our investment in this illusion. And so as I forgave, ostensibly the two people that were involved, but what I was really forgiving, and I knew that, was myself for believing that this was even happening in the first place, that I could even ever be separate from these two beings, and that they could ever not be loving, because they are love, I am love, we are all love. And that was only my own projection of my belief. And that specific belief, it always comes back to a belief in separation, that we have separated from God. and that we are guilty, and that we are, that's what all of our problems in this world stem from, but they seem to take different faces. And so what that belief, the face that that was taking at the time, was that I can't, I don't do well in triads, and that I can't, in a sense, play with more than one person at a time. And my belief really went deeper than that, was that I'm left out and I'm left alone, and that I'm abandoned and I'm rejected and I am not good enough. I'm not accepted. I'm out. I'm the odd person out. Well, that's a reflection of what we have projected onto God, that we believe that we separated from God, which we did not, but we believe that. And then we project that belief onto God, that he has then rejected us. And in our belief that God has rejected us, we believe we are abandoned. We believe we're alone. We believe that we are not good enough. We believe that we don't deserve, we're not worthy, we don't deserve love, and that we see ourselves as the odd person out, or the separated person, the separated self. And that was just such a great demonstration of what the belief that was going on inside of me and how I was projecting it onto the world. And the interesting thing was that when I had enough distance and time to think about that, what occurred to me is that I used to have, as I said, difficulty with this feeling like the odd person out, and feeling, having difficulty with triads my whole life, ever since I was a kid. And I remember my mother saying to me, or saying about me, Kelly has trouble playing with more than one person at a time. And I took that in, and I'm not blaming my mother. I think she was witnessing that, and she was just stating what it looked like was happening. But I also took that in. I heard that said more than once, and it was said right to me. And I took it in as the truth about me. And it began to then continue to manifest in my life as I believed it. And that's what happens, is that, and again, it's not about blaming anyone for giving us any messages in the world of form. It is, we're projecting whatever the belief is. We're projecting ultimately the belief that we believe we separated from God. We project that out, and then it is reflected back to us in the world of the dream world, the illusory world of form. It's reflected back to us in the messages that we seemingly receive from people in the dream, from parents, from teachers, from childhood experiences, from other kids, from caregivers or babysitters or whatever it is. And we take in those messages, and we believe it, because at our core we already believe it. And so as we project it and then it comes back to us, it just goes into our psyche as a reinforcement of what we already believe. And see, I already knew that. I knew that was true. I knew that was true about me. I knew that people don't like me. I knew that, if I'm together with two people, that they're going to like each other more than they like me. And, the on and on with that whole bullshit story. And until it becomes, and what is translated, or transferred rather, from our minds, which are not part of our body. Our mind is eternal. It is not part of our physical being. However, in the world of the dream, what is in our mind is translated into our body, because our body is a making of our mind. And so it actually becomes part of our brain's anatomy. Our belief systems form these sort of tree-like constructs in our brains that are neural networks and neural pathways. And they have like roots and limbs and all of that. And they become stronger as we continue to think thoughts that are in a particular pattern. And the more that we think a similar thought, the stronger that neural network becomes, until it just becomes automatic. And when there is something that seems to happen in the world, like a stimulus that seems to happen, that looks like it's looked at other times, it's like, oh, yep, that's what's happening again. Yep, I'm being left out. I'm being rejected. Other people like each other better than they like me. Blah, 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 fucking whatever. And so, what I had to do to get out of that is I had to remember what the truth is. The truth is that there is no other people and myself. There is no separation of other people and myself, and that this is just a story that is coming from my belief that I am separate, that I'm separate from God, that I'm separate from my brothers, and it's playing out like this so that I will continue to believe it, and I will continue to make the ego world my thought system. I will continue to make the ego mind of the ego my God, and I will continue to suffer in this way and then feel like a victim and then not have to take any responsibility for what my experience is. And having, been a Course in Miracles student for a long time, and not that you have to be a student for a long time to come to this, so I don't even know why I said that, but having had the Course in Miracles thought system as I did, being able to come back to this lesson in particular and realize that I was creating that whole situation for myself, and then consciously having to choose, or consciously deciding to choose to not perpetuate my own suffering by buying into that false belief system, and remembering that the truth is that I am not separate from either one of these two friends of mine. I am not separate from anyone. I'm not separate from even the people that I have thought at times in my life that I couldn't stand them or hated them, whether it was people that I was in relationship with, or people I was married to, or people that I worked with, or were my supervisors, or people that were just in whatever incarnation I was in with people where I believed that there was conflict or I had judgment or condemnation, to realize that that was all coming from me. And whether it's coming from me in my conscious mind and my conscious thoughts, as I just illustrated with that story, or whether it's unconscious to me, it doesn't matter. I still know that that is the case, and that somewhere in my either conscious or unconscious mind, I am holding a belief and I'm holding a judgment that is causing this to be reflected to me. And so that's what I do in my coaching with people, in my psychotherapy, my spiritual counseling with people. I can hear in a very short period of time when somebody is telling me a story of something that went down or something that happened, it's like it's lit up in silver writing. I can see where the belief is that is causing them to have the experience that they're having, that it's coming from their own minds and being reflected back to them. And I can see it more easily in other people than I can see it in ourselves. I think we're all probably like that because I'm not emotionally connected to whatever their experience is. And so I don't have those emotions in my way as we do when it's our own experience, causing our defenses to be up so that we can't see what the truth is. And so that's that's one of the ways that I work with people, is being able to kind of cut through the bullshit of whatever the story is that they're believing in, and then is causing them to feel like they're being victimized by someone else, or that someone else has done something to them, or is causing them a grievance in some way, or making their life hard, or causing a problem. That I can see that and go right to, that's what the belief is. And when you undo that belief and you choose to have a different belief, you start to heal that whole wound that you've got going on. And when you heal that wound, and when you adopt a different belief system where no one's doing anything to you, no one is against you, nothing has happened in truth. Whatever has appeared to happen is appearing to happen in a dream, and it's a dream that you're choosing to have, and that you can make a different meaning out of anything that seems to have happened to you. And so that's my message for you today, is to remember that whatever is going on in your life, if you don't like what life is reflecting back to you, if you're not having a great time and you are not rocking your joy, that to know that it's coming from your belief system, and not to blame yourself or have guilt about that. That's actually completely counterintuitive to what I'm talking about. And the Course in Miracles does not is advocating the exact opposite of that. But it's look at it with spirit, not looking at it with the ego. If you look at the situation with spirit, you can see the truth in it, but you're not looking at it and having guilt about it. I chose this. I'm so guilty. Why did I choose this? Why did I create this? Anytime you start asking those why questions, you're coming from the ego mind. So I hope that this is helpful for you today. If you like this video or you like this message and you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Click the button below, and I'm here every week talking about the practical application of A Course in Miracles. And if you would like more of this kind of message, in addition to watching these videos, you can also click the link below, and there's a free 2-hour workshop that you can join on my website. And it is From Blocking Joy to Rocking Joy, How to Be Happy No Matter What. And it's the same kind of idea, but it's just fleshed out a little bit more. And it can really help you, especially with relationships in your life or anything that you're feeling like you have a grievance about, or a conflict, or feel like it is a problem for you. So thanks again so much for being with me today, and I'll see you next week. I love you.